Why do we seem to always run out of ideas in our improvisation? I remember when I was first learning how to play guitar, having quite an embarrassing experience when I was asked by the band leader to play a solo for the band. I pick up my guitar, start playing some phrases, and I realize I only really have about like 30 seconds worth of material to play. And after that, I'm stuck and I'm kind of thinking in my head too much, and I don't really have any other ideas to play. So what I do, this is really embarrassing, is I take the volume knob on the guitar and I turn it all the way down and I just pretend to play as if I'm playing ideas. And I mean, like, it's obvious that I'm not playing anything. You can't hear me play the guitar. And that's quite an embarrassing, exposing experience. Having to play and improvise a solo and then not knowing what to do and just freezing up and being flustered. So today, by the end of this video, I'm going to show you ways to find creative abundance with your improvisation on the guitar, a lot like this. Don't know who I am, I help intermediates become advanced. This was me as an intermediate over here. This was me when I would get flustered and I wouldn't really know what to do in order to extend my solos and keep playing new ideas. But with enough time and dedication, I managed to improve my playing and advance it quite a bit, to a point where I was quite proud and I could freely improvise with joy, actually. It was very fun for me and I could create unlimited ideas on the fly. So I've been in your shoes before, I know how to get out of them. You're in the right place if you want to improve your guitar playing. My name is Fabian Dolan, this is how I got good at guitar. I have 10 years of experience on the instrument, over 10,000 hours played, and many students taught, hopefully one more today. Thank you for watching. If you want to join a community of like-minded guitarists, check the link in the description, there is a link for a Discord community. Also, while you're down there, you might as well hit like, subscribe, and message me on Instagram as well for any other questions. Tell me if this sounds like you. So many of us, we learn licks in order to attempt to improvise. Now, if you've never really done any improvisation before, this is good, right? This is better than doing nothing, right? Learning licks is a good thing if you've never done this before, if you've never improvised. However, there is only so much we can do with learning these phrases and ideas on the guitar and memorizing them, right? There's only so much you can remember. You're going to find a point where you're playing and eventually you're going to run out of things, run out of stored ideas in your brain in order to play on the instrument. There's eventually going to be a time where you run out. So how do we bypass this process and figure out ways to keep playing endlessly, right? And never run out of ideas. It's not about memory. It's not about memorizing things. So you can only learn so many ideas before you run out of licks, right? Again, there's only so much memory that you can fit in your brain, especially regarding guitar licks. And the best guitarists in the world, they're not doing this. They're not memorizing and learning stuff. They've figured out ways in order to create riffs and licks on the fly. So what is that? What are they doing? We're going to be looking at that today. And playing a lick, learning a lick, is not the same as improvising a lick, right? Playing something that's already been done before by someone else is a different skill to creating something new that hasn't been done before, right? There's a difference between reciting something and creating something. There is a big difference between reading a book and writing a book. When you're playing someone else's lick or phrase, like, it's essentially the same as reading what someone else has said. And there is a big difference between reading what someone else has said and creating your own thoughts and ideas. We're going to be looking at how to create your own thoughts and ideas today. And yeah, we don't want to be stuck learning someone else's licks forever. We want to be able to have our own identity on the guitar and create our own phrases. Now, Bruce Lee, he had a very wise quote. I'm sure we've all heard this before. He says, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 10,000 times. How does this relate to licks and riffs on the guitar, right? We want to start thinking about adding variation to one lick. Take one idea and variate it 10,000 times, then take 10,000 different licks and do no variation with them, right? This is what we want to be doing in order to become good improvisers that never run out of ideas, right? We need to get a lot of mileage out of one lick rather than focusing on trying to learn and work on 100 different licks, right? So how do we add variations to one lick, right? Step 1, change only one note. We're going to look at everything today, all in the G minor pentatonic. So if I take like a basic blues riff, like, it's quite simple, right? I'm just going from the 3rd to the 5th fret on the D string, and doing a slight little bend on the 3rd fret of the G string, and then going back and forth between the 5th and the 3rd fret on the D string again after the bend. You can imagine this over a blues. Right, so we've got this kind of like lick or phrase, right? So we have this. How can we just change one note? Already we've got a bit of variation going on. Just add in one extra note or take away one extra note. Just make one note different. It's all about just varying it ever so slightly. You don't have to change a lot. You don't have to learn a new lick and do a completely different phrase, right? It's all about expanding slightly from what you have already done. You want to be able to connect your ideas and they should be flowing together. Like, imagine if you were writing a book and you have one sentence about one topic and then the next sentence is about something completely unrelated. That's the same thing we do when we learn 100 different licks and then try to mash them all together. Like, they're disconnected, they're disjointed. We want to take one phrase, one lick, and then just add some subtle variations on it for quite a few bars and measures, and then build upon that and let that idea grow, right? So we can do that by just changing one note, just varying it very slightly. And you can change any note you want, but changing the final note usually has quite a large impact. So if I have this, I was doing the exact same thing here though, and then just changing the note that I end on. Right? And I would encourage you to let the scale guide you when taking this approach. So when you're doing a phrase, just walk up the scale by changing that final note. That's what I'm doing. I'm just going through the pentatonic scale. Right? Again, just change one note, make it a different note in the scale. You don't have to overcomplicate this. And yeah, if you don't know what note to choose, the scale is a great way to guide you. If you don't really know the scale, stick with the chord tone of the current chord that you're playing over. But yeah, you really don't have to change much. Just change one note. And already, like, I had like a musical phrase that I could go through then, just by playing, by variating this one theme here. Already, I've expanded that into something that was a lot more than what we originally started with. And again, if you have good time feel, you can get away with playing like one lick that's very simple for an entire solo and only really changing like a very few notes every single phrase, right? You can get away with playing a very limited amount of notes and making it sound brilliant and professional with excellent time feel. For example, someone like John Mayer could play a solo of 3 notes and it would sound world class. That's because he knows exactly how to fit into the pocket, fit into the groove, and make it fit with the rhythm section, and that's going to sound brilliant on the instrument. Now, what else can we do? Step 2. We're going to change the rhythm ever so slightly. So if my original idea was this, let's see how I can do this. I kind of messed around with the rhythm and the feel a bit right there, right? So my original phrase was like this, and I kind of slowed it down a bit. I added some extra rests and pauses in between the notes that were quite a bit longer. And this is going to change how you articulate and phrase certain notes, right? It's going to allow you to accent certain notes more when you mess around and variate the rhythm slightly, right? And again, this is not something that you have to overcomplicate, right? Just take the exact same melodic idea, literally, you're fretting the exact same notes, but change how you choose to articulate the phrase by accenting different notes and adding in longer rests and adding in different rhythms. Again, for example, if I had just a simple riff that was going down the pentatonic scale, like you can kind of mess around with that and do different rhythms. You can go, you could do that just quarter notes, or how do I do triplets? Like that kind of stuff, right? Just mess around with the rhythm. That is also an option, right? We forget this a lot as guitarists. We're only really thinking about what we're supposed to be doing with our fingers in order to fret each note, right? But how you fret the note and the rhythm that you choose also has a massive impact on how the phrase is going to sound. And that's going to allow you to add a bit of variation to the same lick over and over again, which is going to allow you to expand the ideas that you have in your improvisation. Now, step 3. This is one I like doing quite a bit, right? Keep the same rhythm. However, we're going to move the shape up a scale position now. This is why it's so important to learn your scale positions across the neck. For example, with our pentatonic scale, if I have this, and then I can go, right, this is going to allow you to add a bit of movement into your ideas, and they're going to flow more seamlessly up the guitar neck, right? And when you keep the same rhythm, it kind of glues your phrases together. Like there's a kind of homogeneous aspect of your phrasing at that point. Like think your ideas will sound more connected and more congruent, and it will sound more professional as an improviser. It's going to sound nicer to the ear, right? Think of your phrasings as variations on a theme. So, like the theme that I've decided to try and show you in this video today is this. Right, we have this theme. When you start a solo, again, you don't have to think too hard on what the theme is going to be, but just see what you can play, right? Just come up with an idea. It might be something like, that might be your first lick, right? And then what you have to think after that is, okay, how do I vary that theme? How do I do what I've just played again, but make it slightly different? You could go. So there we go. We've got an answer to what I've just done, right? I've proposed one idea and I've variated it. So I've gone like that kind of idea, and then you can vary it again, right? It's all around the same kind of theme of this kind of phrase here. When you're playing your ideas, you want to have something similar between all of your phrases that connects them all together. Now that might be some notes, that might be the melody choice, that could be the rhythm, right? Again, what is keeping everything similar and connected together is completely up to you, right? This is where your creativity and inspiration comes on the guitar. That's completely up to you. But you want to be keeping a good 75% of the lick the same. And you want to hopefully change around 25% of the rest, right? Again, what you keep the same is up to you. That could be the melody, that could be the rhythm. And what you change is completely up to you as well. But you want to keep things congruent. You want to keep things similar, right? That means that your phrasing is going to be less disjointed and your improvisation will flow a lot nicer. And if we keep the rhythm exactly the same, it means we also have the same skeleton from which the riff had originated from. So for example, if I had this like here, like got that kind of idea, and I keep it within the rhythm the same, and I expand upon that by going up scale positions. I go, I kind of finish the phrase by like sliding there. But you can hear that they were connected together because I chose to repeat the rhythms. Let me play that again for you, sorry. Slight slip up in the note there, but you get the idea that we want to keep some aspects of our phrasing the same, and then finalize the phrase by like bending or sliding into a note and holding it, right? Final tip, once we've used all the previous 3 ideas together, you don't have to use them all at the same time, but just kind of keep them in mind and maybe use them for different phrases. End your phrase on a chord tone, like I did there when I slid up here. I finalized it, right? This note here that I slid into, that's G. I'm playing over this G minor pentatonic, and the root note that I slide into, that's a great way to finalize a phrase. So like, that's a great way to like finalize, just hold that note. And then you can think about a new idea to play after that, right? So after I do this, right, you can hear when I did those 2 ideas, I kept the rhythm very similar. Right, and that connects things together. That gives us some connection and flow between our ideas, right? This is how we build our improvisation and make it sound more musical rather than just endless, unconnected ideas and phrases. And hopefully better than not having any ideas to play at all and kind of just freezing on the guitar and turning your volume off and being embarrassed to play the instrument. So just to recap, right? You can get a lot of mileage out of one lick if you learn how to modify it. We can modify it by just changing one note. We can also modify it by changing the rhythm slightly. And we can also modify it by changing the scale position. Again, what you choose to modify is completely up to you, but just all you have to do is modify something slightly. Just change it ever so slightly, right? You don't have to do a lot. And creative musicians will figure out 100 different ways to ever so slightly modify one lick. And then when you have 100 ideas, that's very easy to keep improvisation going for quite a while, right? This is where we want to be able to get to with our guitar playing. So we have to learn how to modify it on the spot, right? We can't just kind of like theorize stuff and then learn it in practice. And then when it's time to improvise, it all comes together. No, that's not how it works, right? You learn on the job. So you're going to be asked to improvise for someone in a band one day. And you're going to figure out, I actually don't really know what I'm doing. And that's where you learn how to make something musical and how to keep these ideas going forever under that pressure of not knowing what to do. So don't crumble under it. Hopefully you can take some advice from this video, use the tips that I've taught you in order to expand the ideas that you already know and keep them going for a lot longer and keep them all connected and sounding more musical. And again, great improvisers, they're not playing memorized licks. They haven't read a book of like a load of lick ideas or like a YouTube video and they've learned 100 guitar licks, right? They know a couple of ideas and they've gotten really good at varying themes, and they've gotten really good at being able to mess around on the instrument and come up with ideas on the spot. Again, what we want to get good at is the skill of modifying one lick on the spot and then creating a theme and varying it. This has been how I got good at guitar. If you still suck after this lesson, please don't struggle alone. Book a call with me. There is a link in the description. I'm offering guitar lessons and I'm going to teach you how to advance your playing. I'm not stopping till you're advanced as well, by the way. I truly believe I can make you a better musician. So if you sound like you're a good fit for that, please go ahead, check out the link below in the description. You can also watch another video over here, and respect for making it towards the end. I really appreciate it. Subscribe for more high quality guides.